Good afternoon, Intuitives, and welcome new subscribers to the channel of a raw, uncut, unedited INFJ channel hosted by a 35-year-old uh, INFJ heterosexual, demisexual male who has been through narcissistic abuse, bullying, hazing, and retaliation, and other things that we'll get into in this channel. So please like and subscribe, and feel free to ask any questions in the comment section below. So this video I wanted to talk about the concept of INFJs and how sometimes we feel the need to make a last stand and what that basically means and what gets us into that mindset and how sometimes probably is our best option, sad to say. So a last stand is basically that last push, that last hope to try to achieve your goal, because you believe if you do not make a last stand in that moment, the forces that are against you are going to overcome. And sometimes, a lot of times, the last stand can happen very rapid with little planning. But the idea behind it is that the situation is deteriorating so fast that if you don't essentially trust your intuition and make the move you want to make now, that the odds of you being successful will continue to deteriorate. So your best chance of success to escape what you want to escape, overcome what you want to overcome, win what you want to win, is to make your last stand as soon as possible. And there's reasons, INFJs can get into that mode. So we're very forward-thinking people, very idealistic, and we overthink. So we're big in the planning. So when we're planning to do something with our life, particularly career, because so much of our identity and sense of purpose is wrapped up in it. And when it seems like we're just not getting a fair shot at all, despite doing everything we were told time and time again, and maybe you've played this game for, I don't know, 15 or 16 years, just off the top of my head, picking numbers, of course. And time again, you don't get a fair shot. You straight up get cheated or abused or any combination thereof, and you continuously see, the fruits of your labor and the rewards go to members of the old boys club, other nepotist, cronyism, that kind of thing, or to inept boomer bosses because they're the boomer boss and they get a free ride apparently because everything they did in the 80s was so great that enshrines them in greatness and prestige for the rest of their lives, because as we all know, the 80s was the pinnacle of human civilization and will always be. So if you're in an environment like that, surrounded by narcissists who want to keep you down, who want to see you fail, who want to turn you into somebody that you're not, perhaps a good old boy Chestertologist, just an example, and continuously try to erode your confidence, which for INFJs, our confidence is pretty unstable to begin with. I mean, we have it, but it can be rattled pretty easily, and after time, it'll wear you down as to what you think you're capable of or what's possible, and wear you down as to think that you must accept the status quo, that there is no better, and you must settle. And settle we do not do, not at all, because all or nothing syndrome does not allow it. And perhaps in a situation like this, an INFJ may have a plan that they're forming to get away from this environment once and for all. Perhaps other plans to do so, since the INFJ was, say, 19 years old, have failed for various reasons, be it the being cheated out of jobs they earned, the recession economy, losing scholarships because of the recession, not moving far away enough to truly escape it, a near fatal injury you had to recover from, death of a parent, various things like that. And perhaps that last push you did, where you finally thought you achieved what you always wanted, was wrongfully taken from you. We all know what I'm talking about. The news articles are on the channel if you haven't But maybe there's one last push, and it involves, perhaps moving countries, something that, particularly a narcissistic boomer who views the area they grew up in as the whole world will be against. And perhaps those people are constantly wearing you down, and you feel your best option is to simply make your last stand, to make your escape while you still can, while before you're completely beaten down by their antics, by their lies, by their slander, by their abuse, because they're going to continuously try to get in your head and tell you that you cannot do that because they do not want you to do that for selfish and narcissistic reasons. And in this kind of situation, a last stand may be your best option. True, you have no guarantee that it'll be a success, but that's part of the concept of a last stand. What you do know is that if you don't do something, if you don't, make your move, if you don't charge over the wall in the no man's land, you're going to be overcome. You're going to, in military sense, die, but let's say in other sense fail. So you know that by making this last stand rapidly without as much planning as you'd like, you must have some chance of success because you're, by definition of attempting a plan, you have a chance of that plan succeeding. If you do not attempt that plan, how is that plan to succeed? You never put it into motion. So in this instance, if an INFJ is thinking, should I make this last stand? Perhaps if the current situation the INFJ is continues to deteriorate, perhaps making that last stand is the way to go. And it's also an important concept to understand for INFJs is we're not shoot from the hip people. If an INFJ is, quote, considering a last stand, it is most likely because time and time again that INFJ has attempted, to achieve things they've wanted to achieve by merit and hard work and sought the advice of those who at least claim they know how, and yet after ticking all the necessary boxes and usually an extra one or two, their fair chance at that never came. So the only thing the INFJ has left to do is to trust their intuition. And especially if this pattern, this cycle has been going on for over a decade and a half, the INFJ may feel they have nothing left to lose, especially if they know there's nothing left of truly of value for them where they are. The dream career they've always wanted, they've perhaps been blacklisted from. The good friends, that inner circle they grew up with, has long since moved away and, dispersed and scattered because we're not college kids anymore. And the prospect of unconditional love is essentially non-existent in that area because the culture of that area is something incompatible with an INFJ. And true, I suppose, a slim chance of somebody from outside the area moving in, but if that INFJ always wanted to get out of there, why bother? So, if you're in a situation like this, again, you may feel hesitant to trust your intuition to, cut down that planning period and to make your move. But understand it may be, your intuition may be telling you that it's the best option available to you, that things are deteriorating and getting worse, and the longer you wait, the less chance of success you have. That, if it's that bad where you are, best take the chance of your plan succeeding as opposed to being overcautious and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, because INFJs spend a lot of their time waiting to make the right move, waiting to overthink if she's truly interested in you. Yeah, we do that a lot. Part of the reason why we're there in my sidebar today, one of the biggest reasons why we're terrible at making the first move is we have to overthink and overthink and overthink if the person we're into is actually into us, and we'll assume the worst case, that no they're not and it's all a misunderstanding and we're going to make a fool out of ourselves. So there's my sidebar. But in the last stand concept, understand attempting a plan has to have some success. Now, How much is debatable plan to plan. It all depends what you're trying to do, what the economy is at the time, how fast you're trying to put something into motion. But sometimes, taking that chance that seems, quote, crazy, may be your best option. It may be your last hope. So instead of being overcome by despair of a broken status quo, take your shot. Maybe it'll work out, maybe it won't, but at the very least, you'll probably be better off than you are now. So remember, if your intuition's telling you last stand, best option, do it now, you should probably do it. Yeah. And especially if what you're trying to get away from has been a pattern of behavior. We're not talking about, you had a bad couple months kind of thing. And don't sell out your integrity to make a last stand. Just somehow find a way to put it into motion as best planned as you can within a time period that will allow you to escape a deteriorating situation before, essentially, if it's a burning building, essentially before it falls in on you. Hope that makes sense.